Ciao, sono Anna e questo è My Italian Circle. Chi lo dice che i fumetti sono solo per bambini? I fumetti non hanno età e in molti di noi c'è un bambino che non smetterà mai di leggerli.
Selezionare il piatto desiderato. Attendere. Velocissimo! Yum!
Se state studiando l'italiano e volete migliorare, avete una ottima ragione per leggere Topolino in italiano. Scopriamo insieme perché. Since far off 1938, the Walt Disney Company Italia has thrilled young and old, publishing the stories of great American masters such as Karl Barks, but also creating stories and characters that are all Italian. Since then, numerous Italian cartoonists have created incredible stories, all made in Italy. Why am I telling you all this? Because Topolino's Italian combines expressions that are typical of everyday language with high register, culture terms that can enrich your vocabulary.
Perché tentenni? Un'occasione simile è da cogliere al volo.
Lo so, ma la questione non è semplice.
Everyone, Italians and foreigners alike, should read Topolino. Cominciamo subito.
Tu sei tanto piccolin, Topolin, Topolin, viva Topolin!
What can you find in an issue of Mickey Mouse or Topolino, as we call it in Italian? You find comic stories, but also features and columns on various topics such as science, sports, music, and culture in general. The best stories also have an introduction where the content is explained. You can read not only the comics, but also short texts in Italian on current topics, which is very important when learning a language. Let's live through an issue of Topolino together. The first page is often a humorous cartoon. Then there is the usual article by the editor, and then the summary. For example, in this issue, there are comic stories and also an article on Laura Pausini. Remember, one of her songs was nominated for an Oscar in 2021. You also find jokes, games, and reader's mail. Let's start with the first page.
Temo che l'inverno depositi un altro spesso strato di pigrizia sulla mia pigrizia abituale.
Paperino, l'unico papero al mondo in grado di trasformare l'inerzia in uno sport estremo.
In just a few lines, we can find some very interesting elements. Temo che l'inverno depositi. I fear that winter will deposit. Un altro spesso strato di pigrizia. Another thick layer of laziness. Sulla mia pigrizia abituale. On top of my usual laziness. Grammar first. The expression temo che, I fear that, must be followed by the subjunctive, congiuntivo, like all expressions indicating doubt, hypothesis, uncertainty. So, depositi is subjunctive. Dubito che il treno sia in orario. Sospetto che il maggiordomo sia il colpevole. Guess what? Topolino has just reminded its many readers of a fundamental rule of the Italian language, which sadly is often forgotten, il congiuntivo. Now vocabulary. Un altro spesso strato di pigrizia. Spesso strato, thick layer. Spesso is an adjective. In Italian, descriptive adjectives generally come after the noun. Some of them, however, can come either before or after. Here, spesso strato is slightly more emphatic than strato spesso, and I'd say more elegant. Again, readers can absorb the collocation spesso strato, which sounds very nice. Temo che. I like the choice of vocabulary here. In the flat Italian that we speak every day, we might say ho paura che instead of temo che, which is absolutely fine. But temo che is more beautiful, it's more elegant. Nowadays, our vocabulary tends to shrink, as we use only a limited number of words when we speak or write. Would you like to stop this? Read Topolino. By reading Topolino, we can also check our spelling. A very common mistake that Italians make is to write un altro with an apostrophe. There is no need. Un is not the elision of uno, but a word that exists independently. Un altro, no apostrophe. Now let's continue our journey in the world of mice. In Topolino e i sentieri in cima al mondo, Mickey Mouse and the pets to the top of the world, our hero travels along the Silk Road as a reporter, but his journey will bring bad encounters. As learners of Italian, you will find the page that introduces the story very interesting. A summary of the plot with the excerpts from the comic strip. There is a lot to learn. The blue balloon says, "Cosa state per leggere?" What you're about to read. Let's read the summary together. Come Marco Polo, pronti a volare tra le montagne solcate dall'antica via della seta che unisce Oriente e Occidente? Like Marco Polo, are you ready to fly through the mountains cut through by the ancient Silk Road that connects East and West? Topolino vi porta sulle tracce di uno dei viaggiatori più famosi di tutti i tempi, tra panorami mozzafiato, mercanti e predoni. Topolino takes you in the footsteps of one of the most famous travelers of all times, among breathtaking landscapes, merchants and marauders. Here we find a few interesting expressions. Montagne solcate, mountains cut through. In everyday Italian we could as well say montagne attraversate dalla via della seta, where attraversate is crossed. Very fine, but solcate is a more cultured term. Good choice. An example? I pirati solcavano i mari per attaccare i mercantili. Also, portare sulle tracce is a rich expression. Tracce means track, trail, footprint. Se siete sulle tracce di qualcuno, state per trovarlo. By reading Topolino, you can also learn collocations, a combination of words that sound right and natural to native speakers. An example taken from the summary. Panorami mozzafiato, breathtaking views. Fiato is breath. Mozzare means to cut. Breathtaking, mozzafiato. Let's read more. Questa volta Topolino se l'è vista davvero brutta. Un fiume in piena l'ha travolto, lasciandolo privo di sensi. This time Topolino had it really bad. A river swept him away and left him unconscious. Vedersela brutta, to have a hard time. This is a widely used expression of the spoken language. All'esame me la sono vista brutta. È arrivata la polizia e i ladri se la sono vista brutta. Travolto, swept away, and privo di sensi, unconscious, are powerful and lively expressions. We could say portato via dal fiume instead of travolto, and svenuto instead of privo di sensi, but we would lose the vividness of the description. Now, an excerpt from the story.
Da settimane il villaggio è tenuto in scacco da alcuni furfanti che spadroneggiano e commettono prepotenze.
I due ceffi!
Da settimane il villaggio è tenuto in scacco da alcuni furfanti che spadroneggiano e commettono prepotenze. For weeks now, the village has been held in check by a number of rogues who have been bossing around and abusing people. Noteworthy expressions. Tenere in scacco means to subdue someone, to hold them in check. The word scacco means chess. It comes from the Persian shah, king. A furfante, a scoundrel, a rogue, is a person who lives by deceiving others. Spadroneggiare means to tyrannize. Commettere prepotenze means to abuse, to bully. All these words belong to a polished Italian, which is worth learning, even for Italians. I furfanti tenevano in scacco le forze dell'ordine, spadroneggiavano e commettevano prepotenze. I want to end by mentioning the character I always look up to, Paperone or Uncle Scrooge, the world's richest miser. Paperone actually has a generous heart, but what I admire most is his thirst for knowledge and his incredible adventures around the world. And since he is from an older generation, his language is extremely cultured and polished. Al solito, anziché rimboccarsi le maniche, i nipotastri indulgono nelle loro facezie. As usual, instead of rolling up their sleeves, my nephews are indulging in their jokes. Every word here is worth learning. Rimboccarsi le maniche, to roll up one's sleeves. A nice saying, very common. Nipotastro. The suffix astro is derogatory. Here Scrooge is expressing his disappointment in his nephews. Nipotastri. Indulgere means to indulge, but this is not a word that we would use every day. Perhaps the average Italian would say perdere tempo. This word can enrich your vocabulary. Una facezia is a witty phrase. Paperone is saying that his nephews are wasting their time laughing and joking. Me? I've been reading Topolino since I was 4, and I've never stopped. Why am I insisting so much on enriching our vocabulary, even in our own language? Let's take a look at this advert by Treccani, the Italian Encyclopedia Institute.
Carino. Carino.
Carino.
Che carino. Carinissimo.
Senza parole, la lingua italiana ne comprende oltre 250.000. Usiamole.
Magnifico, emozionante, sconvolgente, eccezionale, splendido, grandioso, fantastico, bellissimo.
The Treccani ad is dedicated to the Italian language, to the value of words and the richness of our lexicon. At the heart of the campaign is carino, nice, a word that is often overused and can be replaced by many other terms and nuances that we all too often overlook. Italian parents, buy Topolino for your children. They will speak better Italian. Comprate Topolino. And that goes for you too, learners of Italian, at any level. I hope you enjoyed today's video and that the ideas that we have put forward will be useful to you. I know that many Italians are also following us. My advice for everyone, foreigners and Italians alike, is buy Topolino. If you like what we do, subscribe to our channel and hit the bell icon, it's very important. And if you want more, have a look at our Patreon page. Alla prossima!